that one. You got,
Hey O'Brien, this is me
yes.
sharing my screen, by the
Okay.
way.
Perfect. Go ahead.
Yeah, I decided I'm going to go ahead and put a trade on with this big movement
Mm-hmm.
down here. So I'm going to go ahead and buy my longs on the call side. That first 5 cents that I can get there,
Okay.
and go ahead and send that and get that filled.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm getting in, this is early, but we've already had such big movement, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm hopeful. Now, as I look on the put side, with the VIX being elevated like this, let's see, 57.20, 50, 3 or 4 delta.
Mm-hmm.
And while I could come closer,
Mm-hmm.
anything that's a single digit delta is fine. I
Mm-hmm.
just figure, the further away I am,
The better.
again, yeah, this delta being the rate of change of things, I want that to be as little as possible. So I'm looking kind of 57.20.
Mm-hmm.
So if I go like 56.20, okay, that's not too bad. I mean, it's like 105 wide. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
been worse for
Mm-hmm.
sure. So I'm gonna go ahead and buy those as well. So again, it's just kind of dead money here. Uh, Bam. And now we're gonna go ahead and send off that strangle to get filled. And I'm looking to do about 2,000 on each side. So I may wind up going, let's see, the three delta. Yeah, these are technically both the three delta.
Mm-hmm.
Let's use this one here. Um, and then probably want to get about 60 cents on there. So there, looking to get about a buck
Okay.
and sending off 40 of those. And we see the buying power effect. So again, if you don't have the account size for this kind of thing, then adjust accordingly here. And I'm gonna typically take a nickel or so off and hopefully go ahead and get that sent and see if we can't get filled. So that's working. And so we'll see if we can get filled there.
Okay. All right. This is what Dr. Meadows was talking about on a number of these calls, and then at the retreat, you guys, or how he will put the longs on first, and then come in with a strangle. It just feels like he can get filled better a lot of times for the size that he's doing it that way. So, and he just got filled at all 40 right there. That's, the SPX is a liquid market, you guys, and so he just got all those 40 at one shot there. Yeah, sometime it might get kind of partially filled, but and you can see at this time it definitely did not. Okay, so now he's going in and putting his stops. So he's putting his stop on the call side there, and then he's going to go and put his stop on the short leg only on the put side as well, and then and just let it sit and play out. And so that's doing it with a big account. I'm going to mirror something very similar to what he did in a smaller account, and then we'll see how it plays out. But I like his thought process of it jumping in when it's down so much. Can we be down 200? Perhaps, you guys. It's that early in the day. So I'm going to take the screen back here. If you were talking to Dr. Meadows, we lost you, but we were definitely able to see your screen, which was great. And everyone should be able to see my screen now. And then if I go over here and let's just say we go to the 0 DTE, exactly what Dr. Meadows was doing there. And if we go to the straddle price right now at the 58.20, basically, it's saying about 38. So 38 times 2 is 76, right? So let's just say we went 100 points down. That would take us to the 57.20. And that would be about a 3 delta, similar to what Dr. Meadows was doing, right? And I just say, in this case, we do a 20-point wide. Well, you're not going to get as much as what Dr. Meadows was doing. And let's say you went 100 points up. So that would be the 59.20. And that was similar to where Dr. Meadows was at. So the 59.20, and you do a 20-point wide spread. So in this case, you're only getting about 60 cents, right? And if I go and say, okay, well, if I wanted to get a dollar like Dr. Meadows, I would have to bring this up to about the I would have to bring it up quite a bit to get $1, right? And I say I don't want to bring up that put side, even though we're down a ton. Are we going to drop another 100 points? It's possible because it's so early in the day. But if we went to this 900 there, that'd give us about 95, right? Or you can go and you can do exactly what he did, do something like this. It's going to do one contract, and let's see if we do 60 wide here. And I'm going to go to the 0 DTE here, and it's not a ton of money, um, but I don't want to have to adjust a lot today. So let's just go right here a little higher. Let's go to the 65 cents, and let's see if we get that. So if we get that, let's send this, and we're gonna put a stop loss today because I don't want to manage it like I normally do. I'm gonna put a stop loss and on each side if we get filled on that trade as the market kind of popped back up just a tiny bit, off that 100 point move. So what is it? We're trying to get 65 cents. It's going for 62. I'm gonna let it play out just a little longer and see if they'll give it to me. And if we stay with the call side there, 20 points wide, and let's say with that put side, we just brought it up 1 point, right? Because the expected move was about 2 times the current expected move was about 76. We went to 100 points, right? So if we move that up, and let's say we moved it up to the we moved it up to here, just another point, that would give us 70 cents. That would definitely give it to us. If we moved it up just another, that's basically 10 points off what we're talking about. So instead of 100 points down, you're down 90 points from what we were talking about. So that'd give us 70 cents there. So that's a one of the ways to do it as well. So let's do that, and let's see if we can get filled, because we're not going to get filled here. So or we're not going to get filled right away the way to show this. So we're going to cancel that, go here, and then we're going to keep that call side where it's at, and we're going to move the put side up just 10 points, and we'll see if that is sufficient for us. So there we go, and it's only going for 70 now. We're going to send that, and it's still the premium is dropping fast for us. So that just let it sit for a second. You guys, I don't want to run around trying to get it, keep moving the prices up and things like that. But I like where we're at there. All right, so let's move on. And good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon for this witching hour. The markets are still red. It came off the lows and went into the 50s, only down 50 something at one point. And now, as you can see, we are down about 80 points, about 30 points off the lows. But I do want to point out that we had a 0DT trade on this morning. I know Dr. Metals is probably out of that trade with 75 to 80% if he didn't get out already. If he didn't, he's going to get most likely 100% on the trade unless we drop like 80 points. And I don't think we're going to do that. So that was a really solid trade for him. And then if you had a smaller account like the demonstration account, that was a solid trade percentage wise as well. Right now we're going to get 50% or 80% depending on if we get filled or not. If we don't get filled, we have a working order in or a stop loss order in at 20 cents. And that would be about 50% because we already took off the put side. We have the call side on, and if it doesn't get filled, we'll get all of the call side, and then that give us 80% on the trade. So, and if so, regardless, that's going to be our second straight win with the 0 DTE. I think we put on one last week as well, and or on Monday, I don't remember what day it was, but we that's been going well for us because you can kind of see what's going on with this market before things go wrong. All right, so that's the trade there.
Nutty day in the market, hi O'Brien.
Yes, absolutely. What's how's it going, Dr. Metals?
I just posted in Discord. I got out of that trade. I put in on the trading for around 12:30ish or so, and so things were wound up being a good call. I mean, we had kind of a rally later
Mm-hmm.
in the day. I saw, and again, putting on a trade a little later in the day probably would have had a little more heat on the call side, given
Mm-hmm.
that how much we rallied, and you putting it on later in the day, you wouldn't have had the chance to get some of that that good decay that we got earlier. But yeah, things worked out. But overall, very bloody day in the portfolio in general.
Yeah, yeah, but if with this particular trade, Dr. Meadows, you'd have been fine because you were further away on the call side than I was, and my call side was still fine. So, but
Hmm.
if you would have waited till later in the day, like you said, and added that call side, then yeah, that late rally would have hurt you, and then you would have been
Hmm.
mad because now we dropped again, and so you would have been stopped out perhaps if you came in later in the day on that midday rally, and then obviously now the market is went back down. But this is a great trade. You were, I think the max you can get was about 4K. You got 3,100 here, which is a really good trade. Didn't have to adjust. You just played it probabilistically, and you hit it on the nail.
Correct.
Mhm. So good way to kind of offset some of the overall portfolio losses. And what Dr. Meadows means by that, you guys, is that if you have a lot of bullish stuff on somewhere else, it's obviously getting hit today. I mean, it doesn't mean he's going to lose on it, but it's obviously getting hit today.